Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another, hi, Coco. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. So for those that are new, my name is Lara Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're an international educational center where we teach people across the world about living, loving, learning with animals using approaches in applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement. And we do that through our live streaming services. You can find out more about what we do on our website, which is theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Okay, let's get started about our topic. And we're going to talk about separation anxiety. Like I said, a lot of people, there's a lot of advice out there, and a lot of that I would not give. So separation anxiety comes in many different forms and can be seen in many different animals. Who in here thinks they're dealing with a case of separation anxiety? There's a couple of different cases here. We have a big case here. And I've been working with this animal for 12 years. Some levels of separation anxiety, the more intense, the longer the history of reinforcement, meaning the longer it's happened without intervention, it's more than likely going to be maintenance. This case of separation anxiety I'm talking about that I first started working with 12 years ago is a resident here at the Animal Behavior Center, and here I am 12 years later, and I'm still working with it. As a practitioner of applied behavior analysis, I am always watching. Like even when I'm doing this live stream, I'm paying attention to what's happening behind me. I'm always watching. I'm always listening. To see what is that behavior I'm looking at, because you guys have heard me say before, we're always training. And there's different, if you guys remind me, there's different things we do here and in different rooms to keep an eye on separation anxiety when I walk out. Some of my best teachers are animals that have had separation anxiety. And it's not that the cases are hard. Why they're labeled hard a lot is because it takes planning, focus, attention, creation. Nice job, Rico. And a plan of action. So there's a reason I picked, what, Rocky? There's a reason I picked these photos. The dog on the right. What is it looking at and what is it doing after you leave? The birds on the left, the reason I picked these is because separation anxiety, separation anxiety isn't necessarily doesn't happen when a person leaves, but it can happen when two animals are separated. Hence the reason we're always making sure our dogs are used to change. Peekaboo. Okay, so what is separation anxiety? When I'm looking for is any sign of stress, which can come in many forms, when the animal is alone, when the animal is it peekaboo? Do those signs show up when a certain person is gone? Are those signs still there, or do they show up when another animal is gone? Does the animal show signs of being calm when just anybody is around? The most intense case we have here is Rocky, our 20-year-old Moluccan cockatoo, the one saying peekaboo in the background, okay? Rocky was my most intense case, but let's take away the actual species of the animal and get that out of your mind, and instead focus on the behaviors. That's exactly what I do. Is the species important? Sure. What I do here is focus on behaviors. Hi. There's different things you can do if you're away from home. And a lot of people get really stressed out about this and probably contribute to the stress of the separation anxiety. And animals can easily pick up on that. Very easily pick up on that, because you guys hear me say animals are paying attention more so to our behaviors, what we're doing, our body language, more so than what exactly is coming out of our mouth. So there's different things we can do that can trigger this. With Rocky, our Moluccan cockatoo, this is what I looked for. Now just pay attention to the behaviors, not necessarily the species. So it was my husband and I living at home, and Rocky was with us. He would scream once every 3 seconds for 2 to 3 hours on end. And that happened, what? If my husband was in the room, and especially if my husband left the room. What I started seeing was when he left the room, the behavior really intensified, the screaming, and he would do this flipping inside of his cage. He came to us with a couple of different abnormal repetitive behaviors. When Freddie would come back into the room, the screaming would stop. So I'm just sitting here observing this, and I was like, all right, when does it happen? When doesn't it happen? It happens when Freddie leaves the room. It stops when Freddie comes back in the room. So what I'm sitting there doing is identifying a reinforcer. And I highly suggest, if you're working with separation anxiety, you keep a journal and start documenting. When is it happening? When isn't it happening? Because, nice job, Rico. When you do that, you're now on your way to identifying reinforcers behind the separation anxiety. So, but Freddie would walk back into the room, the screaming would stop. So there I'm like, there's something going on here with Freddie. And then, but it would start again after Freddie was in the room for a period of time. If Freddie were to go, pick Rocky up and get him out of his cage, he's probably contributing to some of that and reinforcing all of that. So in the area of working with birds, breeding behaviors, it is not uncommon for the parents to lay the eggs, and the breeder takes the eggs and pulls them immediately. I think there's a turkey vulture at the other end of my door. Take those eggs immediately, and those chicks are hatched and never see their parents. They imprint on people. Well, guess what? I was just like, why is that common in the parrot world, but it would not be stood for in the dog world? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't have. It creates a lot of behavior issues. That sets the people, I feel, up for failure, because now you have this imprinted bird that wasn't taught how to be a bird by its parents. And I think that leads to a lot of behavior issues. Separation anxiety, definitely. Screaming, hi. Feather destructive behaviors, self-injurious behaviors, especially after medical reasons have been ruled out. Those are common. There's a lot of abnormal repetitive behaviors. And there's a difference between separation anxiety and boredom. Destruction, like you leave a house, now I'm going to go back to the dogs. You leave a house and you come home and the place is destroyed, okay? Is that separation anxiety, or is that boredom, okay? Lack of enrichment. There is definitely a difference. You give cues, you're getting ready to leave, all right? And a big one is this right here, your keys. You don't pick up, many people don't pick up their keys at any other time but when they're ready to walk out of the room. Putting on your shoes could be a cue. And there's different ways to work around that. time patterns of human behavior, weekday versus weekend? Yes, and you act different. So a lot of times your behaviors on the weekend are much more relaxed. In the morning, on a Monday morning, what are we doing? Alarm clock goes off, making coffee. There's two cues already. There's two conditioned reinforcers, meaning those are paired with, those have an association with behavior that gives the animal the cue. You're getting ready to leave. There's your alarm clock. There is your making the coffee. Walking back to the bathroom, doing certain things in order, such as taking a shower, blow drying your hair. You probably walk at a faster pace around your house on a Monday morning than you would on a Saturday afternoon. Those are cues. I'm going to show you cues that I'm looking for. I don't know if you guys can tell. There's Coco, our 30-year-old umbrella cocktail, on the ground right here. There's Quincy, all right? Coco, every time Quincy goes over there, I watch the behavior of Coco. See, we're getting some abnormal repetitive behaviors. There's stress right there that I'm looking for. Now watch this, okay? This is something else. This is something else I watch for, all right? I am going to take Quincy. Hey guys, I'm going to take Quincy back over there. Can you guys see his behaviors? That is stress. Coco, I have identified, is becoming very attached to Quincy. Watch what happens when I take Quincy back over there. Listen to what Coco does when I take Quincy out of the room. Okay, hang on. Quincy. My glasses on. Okay, I expected Coco to go to the ground. What? See, I pay attention to that too. Yeah. But a lot of times when QUI and CY is right there, look where Coco goes. Now listen to what Coco does when I walk out of the room, when I take Quincy out of the room. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to take Quincy out of the room. Listen to the behaviors. Come on, Quincy. Okay, come on. Okay, he went up to the top, and now he's up there doing his abnormal repetitive behavior, that's more intense, because that's what he came to us doing. Hi, Rico. Those are, but something Coco didn't do, which I've been really paying attention to, is he did not scream. Usually when he sees Quincy start going to the door, he starts screaming, all right? What he did was go way up high, and it's probably because that he can see out in the center. He can see, where she's going. So that's telling me this is a potential issue. Does it happen with Levi? Does it happen with Quincy? Does it happen with Snow? Does it happen with me? Does it happen with any of the other volunteers? What I've noticed is it happens with Quincy, and he also does that when I leave the room. Start by shaping calm. Well, you start where the animal's calm. Anyways, then you slowly start shaping redirection and duration in the absence of the person or animal where the separation, anxiety, behaviors happen. Some things we do here to change that is remote control training devices, all right? So the positive reinforcement in the form of food is coming from something else other than you. You're starting to establish and create independence. This is why we're so huge into enrichment here. Studies show that if you're actually using positive reinforcement training, it's the animal's preferred form of enrichment. A lot of our enrichment is in the form of foraging, such as, you guys have seen this, this is very basic, but we do foraging. So let's say Levi starts barking when I leave the room. I can redirect. Quincy, here. I can redirect by giving him, this is Quincy, not Levi. Levi can't hear, he's sleeping by my feet. I can redirect by doing something like this, taking the focus off of me, and then walk out of the room. The thing is you got to shape that. You can quickly punish this behavior of interacting with the foraging device by pairing that with you leaving the room. Hi, Rico. This starts becoming a cue, and you'll see the behavior of the foraging start to stop because it's paired with you leaving the room. That's the cue. So then the foraging stops. This is what I tell people here. I mean, this little dude is the absolute love of my life, all right? I love him so much that I don't want him so bonded with me that he is so stressed when I leave. Everybody says that Rico is a spoiled brat. He is a spoiled brat. He is, what is a spoiled brat? The animal that gets positive reinforcers for just being cute without contingencies. Or no specific contingency. Okay. So I started having forms of separation anxiety develop when Rico had his accident. Another story, especially with parrots. An animal can come extremely bonded to one person. Some people think that's really cool, and like, I wouldn't come near me, or my dog's gonna attack you. I wouldn't come near me, or my bird's gonna bite you. Some people find pride in that. I would not, because what is going to happen is that animal is extremely stressed when you are gone. And life happens, guys. Life is not fair. Watch a wildlife documentary. Life is not fair. But you can prepare that animal for success. You can empower them, create that independence, and create the duration of that independence. What it looks like, what it can look like in some parrots, excessive screaming for hours, very rhythmic behaviors, abnormal repetitive behaviors like this one. And he's doing that because Quincy's over here versus next to his cage. So we have a lot of foraging toys in his cage. Do you see that? Do you see? Those are the subtle signs that I watch for. Quincy started going near Coco's cage, and Coco's voice started changing. If Quincy goes over there, I guarantee you he's going to go to the ground. And Coco will take food, put it on the ground, and push it out the cage to lure Quincy in. So Quincy stays close. That's right, Rock. So some behaviors I look for in parrots are excessive screaming, pacing really fast, boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 back and forth. You'll see that with Suki. We have parrots here that are over bonded to each other. I don't mind that. I like them to have a strong bond, but I want them to be comfortable when that other animal is not around. Something I look for is maybe something like this. I'm not saying he's not pacing as fast as he would, but when he's stressed, he'll pace really fast. Nervous twitches, like chewing on your nail, you know what I mean? And eyes getting really wide, the behavior becoming more what could be labeled as frantic. I look for those repetitive behaviors. I look for, I think a lot of feather destructive behaviors are due to separation anxiety. Feather plucking and self-injurious behaviors, mutilation. If I think I'm dealing with any form of separation anxiety, somebody tells me it's a case of separation anxiety, if they tell me that parrot or that dog or whatever the animal has slight injuries, such as bruising itself, starting to pull its feathers due to separation anxiety, I'm like, now we're moving up the scale of intensity, okay? Sylvia says excessive licking in dogs, and Daphne says loss of appetite. I've worked with dogs here that would not defecate or urinate for hours, would not eat, would not drink. The last place I want to take your dog for separation anxiety is here, because it's going to watch you walk out the door and those behaviors are going to skyrocket depending on the level of intensity. And there's your intermittent schedule of reinforcement, is it happens once in a while. So one of the worst things you can do with separation anxiety is crate them and walk away, because it shows that animal, I have no choice, I'm trapped, I cannot get to you. Things I look for are broken teeth. That case in Michigan, in Detroit, it was happening when she would leave. And she said she was advised to crate the dog while she was gone. And I was like, oh dear, okay. I was like, show me the crate. And so she showed me, and I was like, show me your dog's teeth. And a lot of its teeth were broken. And then I said, so what happened when you crated, what happened to this crate? She goes, well, he destroyed it. And I said, then what did you do? She goes, well, I went out and bought one of those dog-proof crates where they can't destroy it. I was like, so you're changing behavior, all right. What you're doing is reinforcing the separation anxiety. You're not modifying the behavior issue in the direction that you want it to go. That was the one where I said, that's not the dog you should be concerned about. It's this one, the one that's breaking its teeth and escaping, jumping out the windows. If a dog is severely attached to me, high case of separation anxiety, one of the worst things you can do is stick it in a crate and walk out the door. And with me saying that, what are we doing with the birds? I don't care. I don't care what size its cage is. It's still a cage. And what are we doing with birds? Sticking them in the cage and walking out the door. Some things, let's talk about different things that cause this. It could be, and this is Rocky. I don't know anything about Rocky's past, but I can tell more about his past. Tickle! That's Rocky, not that one. That one. See you later. I can tell Rocky's behaviors don't lie. They tell me. When I could finally touch Rocky, I was like, this bird is, I bet I would put money down, is used to being sat and cuddled for long periods of time. That is one of, do I do that with Rocky? Yeah, I just make sure behaviors stay balanced. It's all about balance. This is why people say when you bring in an animal, everybody coddles and ogles over the animal. And you see this a lot in rescue and shelter animals. Then after the first week, the dog or the bird or the cat or the bunny, whatever, is old news. Time to get back to work. Well, that animal is just like, hey, you've been sitting here petting me nonstop for the past week. Well, why are you leaving? They may not understand what your life is like. So some precautions to look for are pacing, behaviors labeled as frantic, behaviors where you would say the dog does it for, or the animal does it for no reason. Oh, there's a reason. Something else I want to say is you'll see these behaviors a lot in shelter animals. And the animal is adopted out. It's at a home for so long before the behavior issues start rising. The animal is returned to the shelter, okay? So the animal's like, well, I had a home for about a month. Now I'm back at the shelter. Separation anxiety is likely to build. And then, okay, gets another adopter in about another 4 or 5 months, goes home 2 to 3 months, boom, behavior issues aren't dealt with, animal comes back. If animals have separation anxiety, the shelters or the adopters need to tell the people this. The people need to know what they're getting into. And like I said, it's not that it's hard. It just depends on the level of intensity. It takes time, focus, attention. And they need to send the adopters with a plan of action and reputable people who can help them with those behavior issues. Otherwise, separation anxiety not only causes severe amounts of stress for the animal, it causes severe amounts of stress for the caretaker, for the caretakers. This animal screams nonstop or barks nonstop when I leave, but the rest of my family is sitting in the house trying to watch TV. It gets to the point where the people say, get rid of that dog or that bird. It's very stressful for other people in the house, and it's not fair for them, because if I have an attacking, lunging cockatoo that screams nonstop when I go to work, somebody else has to care for that animal when I'm at work. That's not fair to the rest of the people in the family. These shelters and rescues need to be sending home education, proper, appropriate education for the people so they know how to deal with this and who to contact. Robert says